Okay, so you know how we love digging into these stories where like legal stuff and actual danger kind of clash?
Yeah.
Well, you found a pretty wild one this time.
Mm-hmm.
And it all starts with like this brand new KG Mobility Action SUV.
Yeah.
Only 5 months old, and it just dies on the owner.
Totally conked out.
Yeah, and we're not talking like a simple flat tire here.
Oh, no.
This is a full-on engine failure in the middle of driving.
Imagine that.
Yeah, and the owner, Mr. A, he'd just taken it to like the official KG Mobility Service Center like the week before.
Routine checkup.
Right, everything checked out, and then boom, nothing.
Just like that.
And here's where things get really interesting. KG Mobility, they admit that the whole thing happened because of a faulty intake valve.
Yeah, you know that thing that's like super important for getting air into the engine?
Exactly.
Like if that's messed up, you're going to have problems.
Big problems.
Huge problems.
So they admit there's a defect, but then they basically say tough luck because the Korean lemon law says you need to have the same problem like 3 times before they're obligated to do anything about it, like a replacement or a recall.
They're using the law as a shield.
Totally. And that brings us to the Korean lemon law.
Right.
So for anyone out there who's not like a legal eagle, this law basically says if your new car is acting up within the first year or 20,000 kilometers and you signed all the paperwork, they got to help you out.
In theory, at least.
Right. And this is key. There's a big exception for anything that's a major safety issue.
Absolutely. A single incident is enough for a recall in those cases.
So that's the heart of what we're looking at today, right?
Yeah.
Like what happens when something could be really dangerous, even if it only happened once?
Like in Mr. A's case.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So let's break down Mr. A's experience a little bit.
Sure.
And KG Mobility's first reaction.
So like, picture this.
Yeah.
Brand new car, just got serviced.
Yeah.
He's driving along, and bam, the engine just quits.
Terrifying.
And he almost got into a really bad accident.
Oh, wow.
It's not just like, oh, darn, my car broke down. This is a situation where someone could have been seriously hurt.
Totally. And Mr. A was obviously pretty upset. He's quoted as saying that KG Mobility admitted the intake valve was the problem, but then just hid behind that 3 or more occurrences rule.
Right.
Completely ignoring the fact that this could have been a disaster.
They weren't really thinking about the danger involved.
No. And it's totally understandable why he'd be furious.
Absolutely.
So what did KG Mobility say at first?
Well, they said they understood Mr. A's concerns, but they also said that because this was the first time anyone reported this problem, and because the lemon law says it has to happen more than once, they couldn't really offer a replacement or a recall.
So they're like, yeah, we get it, but our hands are tied.
Exactly.
It sounds like they were really sticking to the letter of the law.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, so let's talk about this intake valve defect.
Right.
For those of us who don't spend a lot of time under the hood, why is this gateway to the engine thing such a big deal?
It's actually pretty fascinating how this tiny little part can cause a chain reaction of bad things.
Oh, really?
Yeah, experts and even like textbooks like MIT's Internal Combustion Engine Fundamentals, they all say that if the intake valve isn't working right, the balance of air and fuel in the engine gets messed up.
And then?
And then you get incomplete combustion.
Which sounds bad.
It can cause knocking in the engine, which creates a ton of pressure and heat inside the cylinder head.
Oh, no.
And over time, that can cause cracks to form.
Uh-oh.
And once you have cracks, you can have coolant leaking into the combustion chamber.
Yeah, yes.
Which messes with the oil, which can cause the engine to overheat. And in the worst case scenario, it can cause a fire.
A fire.
Yeah, so the real issue here isn't just a broken car. It's a potential fire hazard.
Wow.
And that's what KG Mobility seemed to be missing in their first response.
Yeah, they were focused on the law, not the danger.
Exactly.
So it's not just one broken part. It's a whole mess of problems that can come from
I think
it.
it's like a domino effect.
You mentioned something similar happening in the U.S.
Right, the Hyundai Theta 2 GDI engine.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, NHTSA, they even wrote a whole report on it, EA 17003.
What does it say?
Basically the same thing, incomplete combustion, messing up the cylinders, coolant leaks, and then fires.
Wow. So this really could be a sign of a bigger problem affecting a lot of cars.
Exactly.
And it makes you wonder how other big car companies have reacted in these situations.
Right.
Even when there's only one reported incident.
It really shows you how different companies think about safety and keeping their customers happy.
So what have other companies done?
We'll take BMW, for example. Back in 2018, they had one report of a diesel engine fire.
Okay.
They immediately reported it to the Korean Ministry of Transport.
Good for them.
And then they recalled over 100,000 cars that had the same engine and EGR system.
Wow, they didn't mess around.
No, they were quick and decisive. They treated it like a serious safety problem right away, even though it was just one fire.
It's pretty different from how KG Mobility reacted.
Oh, yeah. BMW saw a potential problem and took care of it. KG Mobility was more worried about the rules.
And what about Hyundai and Kia?
They had those huge recalls for their Theta 2 engines starting back in 2017.
I remember those.
Millions of cars were recalled because of the risk of engine fires.
Wow.
And they didn't wait for a bunch of reports. They saw the potential for danger and took action.
That's how it should be.
It shows that some companies are more focused on preventing problems and keeping their customers safe than on just following the bare minimum legal rules.
Some companies are proactive and some are reactive.
Exactly.
So you talk to someone who works in the car industry.
Right. An insider.
What do they think about all this?
They weren't impressed with KG Mobility's initial reaction.
What did they say?
They were really disappointed that the company seemed to be looking for loopholes in the law instead of making sure their customers were safe.
That's rough.
Yeah, and they said that if KG Mobility wants to be successful in the long run and build trust with customers around the world, they need to put people first and fix potential problems before they become big problems.
It's like they're saying KG Mobility is shooting themselves in the foot.
Basically, yeah.
So KG Mobility did eventually come out with a better response, right?
They did. After things started getting more attention, they admitted they messed up in how they handled the defect and how some of their service centers treated Mr. A.
So they were feeling the heat.
You could say that, and they said they were working on talking directly to Mr. A, and they offered him a new engine and free oil changes.
So they finally did the right thing.
Yeah, it seems like public pressure, or maybe someone higher up in the company realized how bad this looked.
It's a good reminder that speaking up can make a difference.
It definitely can.
So to wrap things up for our listeners today, we've really been looking at this conflict between a potentially dangerous problem in one car and the legal rules that say when a company has to take action.
It's a tough situation.
It is. And it makes us ask a big question when we're talking about car parts that can put people's lives at risk. Is it okay to wait for a problem to happen multiple times before doing anything about it?
Especially when you see other companies taking action right away, even after just one report.
Right. And when we think about the possible consequences of an engine defect, like the one Mr. A had, it leaves us with a final thought for you all.
What's that?
What does this case tell us about how car companies are thinking about safety? Are they really putting customers first, or are they just doing the bare minimum to follow the law?
It's something we all need to think about.
And what does it mean for you as a consumer?
How do you make sure you're protected when you buy a car?
Exactly. You got to be informed and know your rights.
Absolutely.
So that's it for today's deep dive. Thanks for listening.
We'll see you next time.
And remember, be safe out there.
And be informed.
All right. Take care, everyone.